Hi, I'm Peter McPherson, and I'm the guest this week for Meet in the Middle, and this is what's coming up.
And so from the fourth day, I'm there right now. I'm like, we should totally get Tom Hardy. Air in the room, so like that. Like, you are joking.
Oh, you didn't know?
So we went through. My dad sat in the van while I went in, and they did a rapid test, which is pinprick of the finger. They'll tell you within an hour it'll come up if it's positive or negative. It wasn't even an hour within it. Like within that, they pulled me back in from the waiting room, and they sat me down and they said, "Yeah, it's positive."
Oh Jesus, he's falling around the gap.
Do you think I'd come up the line in a bubble?
I know where I'm putting Debbie's sauce.
Hang on, can I submit my confession?
Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to episode 53 of Meet in the Middle podcast. I may not be a smoggy queen. I have been described as a dodgy queen. It's me, Danny. He's already done, had his is. It's our Irish sausage, James.
Hello.
And he puts the knot and ham in Nottingham. It's our Jake.
Hello.
And in our first episode back for 2025, we are delighted to be joined by our very special guest from BBC's hit comedy show, Smoggie Queens. It's Mr. Peter McPherson.
Woo!
How are you doing?
Hello. So I naturally went to jazz
hands. Yeah, I've done it before.
Oh,
too.
thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming along.
Welcome.
Thank
so
you.
look, it's 2025. Have you got any New Year's resolutions for this year?
Oh God, I gave up on New Year's resolutions a few years ago because they're just a bit disappointing, aren't they? And you may feel crap about yourself when you don't fulfill them. But I'll tell you what I do want to do is I want to be more focused, more kind of like laser focused on the things that I'm passionate about. Yeah. So like my sign language, BSL, really kind of commit to that. And friends as well. Sometimes, I live in London. It's difficult. You're busy and you don't see friends and things. Want to make more time for relationship.
I hear you, and I think I need
Yeah.
to do the same. Actually, I think
Have you
moving
got
away.
any?
Well, because I've moved to the coast, I've kind of isolated myself, I guess, because all my friends are in London as well. So I need to make more of an effort. Yes, and Ireland, yes, all right. But yeah, I need to make more of an effort kind of traveling down, seeing friends often. So I love that one. That resonates with me. But look,
Yeah.
it's not about me or Jake or James. It's about you, Peter. So, thank you for joining us. Why don't you tell us a bit more about you? Like growing up in the Northeast, like tell us about your family life, maybe some of your hobbies.
Yeah. So I'm from Hartlepool. So Hartlepool is in the Northeast near Newcastle. For a long time, for years, it was just easy to say I'm from near Newcastle because people don't really know that bit between Newcastle and York. I have a sister, mum, dad, like really close with them, really close with my parents. Really fortunate. Loved athletics when I was younger, really quite athletic, and dancing. Got into dancing and drama at 15. And then that changed my life.
Okay. So the athletics, was it rugby? Just thinking.
No, it wasn't. And it's amazing what they can do in post-production. That's all I'm going to say. The editor deserved an Oscar. No, it wasn't. It was like, I was good at high jump. Even though I was quite short, I was quite good at high jump. And running. Even though now I don't run, cardio is such a dirty word. I'm like, oh God.
I've never even heard of the word. I don't know what it is.
People go to the gym and they sweat, and I'm like, what are you doing? I don't. I just go there and pick heavy things up, and that's it. And
I
then walk
sweat
away.
walking up the stairs.
You do have two stories in your house, though, Danny, in fairness.
Yeah. It's a good enough excuse. Well, I know you've just touched on it briefly about your growing up in Hartlepool, but one of the things that you've well documented in interviews beforehand is your coming out story. Could you just tell us a bit about what it was like to be growing up as a young queer kid growing up in the Northeast?
Yeah. So, oh God, quite difficult really, because I think even before I realized I was gay, I there's something about it that makes you feel like you stand out, and you don't know why. And I think sometimes kids know that as well. Do you know what I mean? There's something different, but they might use the word gay, but they don't really know what it means and things like that, or faggot and things. So I didn't. Growing up in Hartlepool was quite challenging. I feel safer in London than I do back home. Although I've not been back home since Smoggie Queens, so who knows? But I feel like I felt very visible. Where in London you can be invisible if you want to. You know what I mean? You could walk down the street naked, and most people wouldn't be aware. And I've not tried it.
I was
but
going to say, I don't know if I recommend doing that.
yeah, get arrested. So yeah, growing up was challenging, and especially when you get into do dance and drama and stuff like that. It felt like a bit of a dirty secret, really.
Yeah.
And you moved to London at the age of 17. That's like very young and such a brave move to do.
Yeah.
Is that because you felt more comfortable there, or the possibility of feeling more comfortable there than you did up north?
No, I got into drama. Well, I say drama school, a dance school in London. So in school, my kind of safe space was drama class. I had a drama teacher called Miss Langham, and for some reason, it was the only place where the bullies wouldn't bully me for some reason. It was bizarre. And then in your final year or year 10 or whatever it is, we had to go see a career advisor. And she was like, "What do you want to do?" And I had no idea, not a clue. And she said, "Okay, so what's your favorite subject?" And I said, "Drama." And she said, "Okay, what's your second favorite?" And I was like, "No, you said what's my favorite lesson?" And I was like, "It's drama." So it didn't occur to me that that was a possible career, because my family aren't, theatre people. I just didn't. I was quite a naive kid. Like, I don't. This is quite embarrassing, but like watching things like Mary Poppins, right? I don't know why I didn't think they were acting. I just like it was like
That's not embarrassing. I love that.
like
as a
I
kid.
didn't realize it was a job.
Yeah.
So when she said it was kind of a possibility, I was like, what? So I went to see these open days. There was 2 colleges in the Northeast for me, and I went to one, and I with my dad, and I said, "Dad, this is to be here. This is the one. I don't know what it is, but this is it." And I got in. So I was there for a year, and then all the second year, third years and stuff were auditioning for drama school or dance schools in London. And I thought, well, I want to do it. I want to audition. So I said to the teacher at my performing arts course, I thought, I'll tell her the idea. If she laughs in my face, I won't do it. And if she's supportive, then I'll go for it. And so she was really supportive. She went, "You have to audition for London Studio Centre." I didn't know any other schools. I didn't, quite naive. So I auditioned for Studio Centre, the only place I auditioned, and I got in. Not only that, they give out 1 scholarship a year, and I got it.
Nice.
And I was like, what? And bearing it, like, I'd only just started dancing at 15, so I was quite late. So I wasn't brought up dancing and acting and singing. So, and that was the reason to go to London.
And so was that age 17?
17, 2 days after my 17th birthday,
Wow.
I moved to London. And parents were quite worried, because like I'm the kind of person that would say, like, "Sorry, do you mind holding my wallet while I fasten my shoelace?"
Wrong place.
And they were like, "Oh God, he's gonna get eaten up alive." But they came down like 6 months later and could see a different person, someone who was grown, who knew their way around, who was got their confidence. Yeah, that's the reason.
And so did you have did your family help you with an apartment, or did you flat share, or
Oh God,
do you know anyone in London?
So I did come to London with a boyfriend, who I'd met, and I kind of didn't want to come with him, and I thought that would be the great excuse of, I'll go to London,
I'm sorry.
break up. But he was like, I'll come with you. And great, yes. So my parents were happy because it meant I wasn't alone. And then the relationship broke down pretty quickly. And then within 6 months, I was living, so I had to have a Monday to Friday, I was in college. And then Friday evening, all the way to Sunday evening, I had a job in a bar. So I had to, I didn't get a grant or anything like that. So I had to work at the same time. So that's how I got through. I literally, for 3 years, that's what I did, without stopping.
At that age as well,
Yeah. I used to get 3 hours break on a Saturday and Sunday, and then I'd have to do my late shift. And yeah,
you must have been
intense.
exhausted.
Yeah, it was. But part of me is like, I wouldn't change it. It was, and it's that thing of when you do something you love, what's that saying of like, you'll never do a day's work.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that where, I knew there was a goal.
Yeah.
Well,
Worth it in the end.
Massive shout out to Mrs. Langham then.
Yes.
I'm getting like vibes of like, is it Heartstopper? Like they all go to like the art class or whatever.
Yeah.
Safe there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's obviously like.
And Mrs. Langham, sorry.
No, go on.
Mrs. Langham reached out to me a few years back because I'd not seen her since I left school. It's student, and she contacted me. I think it was through maybe Facebook, and we met up, and it was incredible to be like, and also like to be so grateful. Thank you for seeing something in me that a lot of teachers didn't, or to support that. Yeah.
It just goes to show like, people in education, those kind of role models, they're so important.
Yeah.
They never kind of leave you, although like obviously we grow up and whatever, she obviously holds a real special place for you, because I'm guessing like what inspired you to pursue a career in acting? Was it her lessons? Was it something else?
I think I was quite a shy kid growing up. I'm different now, but for me, like I'm not the kind of person that or kind of actor that's like, I want to put on a stupid voice and a clothes and and hide behind something. For me, it's the opposite. For me, it's about revealing. It's about being honest, and it's been about being able to communicate when in life I think maybe I had difficulty expressing myself. So that for me, it was my way of actually being able to show these things that I actually couldn't have struggled with in real life, and it changed my life. That's why it's so important that I think kids, the first thing that gets cut all the time is, creative things, and we'll do more maths and more this. Yeah, and it's like actually, the arts are important. Yeah,
I could relate to that too. I wouldn't be the most expressive person, but I kind of do see that as being an outlet and a way of expressing yourself through other characters. Like it's still you at the core. It's just through other mediums.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so you're kind of saying that it's helped you to find some sort of authenticity in you.
Yeah, and my confidence as well. Yeah, it's always how I've worked from day one. And it's kind of like it feeds itself, because the more I've done it, the more like encouragement I've got. So you think, oh well, I must be on the right path then, or I'm doing something right, because people are interested in saying good things. So not that I do it for that. I you know what I mean? Like people think as an actor, you like attention, and I can switch it on and I can be a certain, when I have to be, but that's far from the truth from me. Do you know what I mean? Like people think, oh, you like attention, or oh, you're an actor, so you're good at lying. And it's not, it's the opposite. It's about telling the truth.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's definitely like a form of escapism as well. Like James said, he's had experience and Danny's had experience as well. And like for myself as a kid, I just did it for the escapism and the confidence side of things.
Is that when you went for the interview for Harry Potter or the audition and you didn't get it?
Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that. Yeah. I think I'm banned from Leavesden Studios. Never mind the reboot.
You got Expelliarmus.
So obviously moving to London, having going to the art school and everything, life changed from as it was in the Northeast, and you've been married to David. Is it for 8 years now? So
Yeah, 8 years. Thank you for reminding me.
It's your anniversary next week.
Anniversary, yeah. Like, yeah. Actually, do you mind if I just yeah.
quickly go on music.
Yeah, 8 years, 11 years together. 11 years together, 8 years married.
Wow.
Yeah, Mr. Gay, Great Britain,
Yes.
former Great Britain, second in gay world. He's the second gayest man
In the village.
on the planet, in the village. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course he runs Homo Parody, right?
Homo Parody,
Which-
yeah.
We'll have to get David on the show. That's what
Yeah.
we'll need to do.
Do you want
We'll need to get him on.
me- Yeah.
Check out Homo
Yeah.
Parody, listeners, if you haven't. It's very good. Very, very
Yeah. It's its
Funny.
creative outlet. It's its way of like, it came out of lockdown and just wanted to do something and bring people together. And I think it surprised him in a sense that it's like acting. Sometimes you do things you do it for money. Sometimes you do it for the role. Sometimes you do it for the credit. And then sometimes things come along and you do it for something bigger than you and about community or charity or whatever it is. And I think he discovered a lot of things through creating Homo Parody.
Love that.
Yeah.
So, Peter, let's talk about Smoggie Queens for a second. So, for anyone who hasn't watched it, it's an out-and-out proud comedy written by Phil Dunning, who also plays Dickie in it. If you don't know the talents of Phil Dunning, here's a little snippet.
When the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case.
And it's got such a great cast of other actors on it as well. Can you tell us a little bit about it and some of the characters that we get to meet, including your own Harrison?
Yeah. Yes. Oh God, that's traumatic. Listening to that, I had to try and keep a straight face. So I did that in my face. Oh God. So Smoggie Queens is about a group of friends, chosen family, and it's set in Middlesbrough, and it's just the best. It's just the best time on it. It's written by Phil Dunning, who plays Dickie, who we start off as boyfriends, but then we break up, and it's really awkward because we also work together. So and Middlesbrough's not very big, so we always keep bumping into each other. It's really awkward. You've got Mark Benton, who plays Mam. He's very like old school kind of drag, the mother of the family. You've got Lucinda, who's played by Alexandra Mardell from Corrie. And Strictly, she won Strictly was it last year? She won Strictly, the Christmas special. And yeah, she plays Lucinda, who's like the kind of fag hag of the company. You've got Sal, played by Patsy Lowe, who's the lesbian, and Elijah Young, who plays Stuart, who's the like little baby gay, so innocent and like new to this whole world. And it's just a massive love letter to the Northeast, to Middlesbrough. It's been amazing for me because to be part of something that I'm so proud of. Something so funny, something that's so like. But when I came to London, 24 years ago, I was told that if I wanted to work as an actor, I had to get rid of my accent, and I did because I was 17, and I was like, "You're obviously the oracle. You know what you're talking about. You know, they're just passing on stuff they were told. Do you know what I mean? So, but it's outdated. But being 17 and new to the industry, you don't know that. So to go back to doing my original accent was quite emotional because it good and bad in some ways, because it unlocked a lot of memories
Right.
that I think I pushed aside. But also to do a show that's so outwardly queer and proud, again, being taught, well, if you want to work, you better kind of hide that as much as possible. Do you know what I mean? And it feels like going full circle on this, where you're like, actually, I can be Northern and I can be gay, I can be myself. Obviously, it's through a character, but God is absolutely, what's the word? Just freeing.
Yeah.
Freeing.
It's
Yeah.
incredible. We all watched it together, including Rachel, who can't be here.
Yeah.
Couldn't be bothered to turn up. She'll kill me for saying that. Sorry, Ray.
New Year's Eve hangover.
We absolutely loved it because, of course, it's just finished in just before Christmas on BBC, but it is available on BBC iPlayer. Go and watch it if you haven't seen it. Smoggie Queens. We were pissing ourselves.
From the first 5 minutes, we were pissed ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I
It's so funny.
I was going to do the Dicky eyebrows. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that.
Oh, you didn't? I thought. Oh, never mind. I just thought you were surprised to see me.
So, how did the opportunity come about in the first place, Peter? Like, tell us how it kind of fell into your arms.
So, my agent was working with Phil, and he said that he was writing something, and from Middlesbrough, and my agent was like straight away was like, "Well, Pete's from Hartlepool, he's, you know what I mean?" And so he told me about it, and then the audition came through when I was in Liverpool for Eurovision, when Eurovision was there, and I was really sick. I was in bed with flu, and I was like, "Oh, Dave, I've got to do this audition. Like it's too important to not do." So I did it, and then sent it off. But it was a strange one because I couldn't do my original accent because I'd lost it, and when I said I was from the Northeast, I just put a Geordie accent on, which it's different. Like Geordie's like "nor," and where we're from, we'd say "nah." Like it's all like a bit flat and a bit like minor key than major. So yeah, and then I got the offer through, and the strange thing with Smoggie Queens is normally they would write the whole thing and then they'd cast it, but they did it the other way round. They cast it first before the first episode was written, just not the rest of the series. And we did it for the BBC. We had 2 days rehearsals and we did a reading for the BBC, and the BBC loved it, loved it. And yeah, so they commissioned the pilot. Well, just do the series. So we commissioned this. They did the first episode, and then from there it was, yes, we want to do the series, and then the rest of it was written.
That's amazing. You mentioned there the pilot. We understand the pilot was a bit different to the first episode of the series that's out. Can you give us a bit of like any insight on that at all?
Yeah. So from what I've heard, because the original pilot episode was like set in Downton Abbey. It was like a bit like upstairs, downstairs. It was apparently the same kind of characters, but just set in that setting.
Yeah. And
the producer Chris Jones, who was incredible, amazing, kind of gave some feedback and said, "No, that's awful.
Honest.
Change it." Yeah. And he said, like, write something close to home, write what you know. And so that's when he decided to set it in Middlesbrough, and kind of came a love letter to Middlesbrough.
Right.
So yeah, so that was all before I was involved, but that's what I've heard. Yeah.
I think
I
that's
thought you
true.
were
It's
in the
warmth.
pilot.
Oh yeah, I'm in the pilot. As in the first episode is the pilot, but
Gotcha.
the original draft of the
Right.
pilot, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The show celebrates the idea of like that chosen family, Peter. even if you try to show this fierce, sometimes abrupt independence like Dickie displays.
Mm.
But another piece of your work, In From the Side, an LGBT love story about rugby, also had the same kind of message about chosen family. What does chosen family mean to you?
The chosen family to me is people that are not blood related, but they're just as close as family, like friends, really, really close friends that you can depend on, that feel like that are family. Yeah.
Nice.
And In From the Side was also, we also watched that together as well. Really, really good. We love that.
Oh, thank you.
It was giving us Scandi vibes, like a Scandi.
Yeah. That was like, I felt like that was one of the first projects that I did, because I did a lot of theatre before, and then I think that was one of the first projects that I did with like TV and film. It was like a learning curve in a sense. Yeah. And I wasn't meant to be in it originally.
Because I noticed a lot of it was set in South London.
Yeah.
Which is like where you're from now, right?
Yeah, near Clapham. Yeah. So you'd see bits and you're like, oh, I know that back alley.
That's exactly what Danny was like when we were watching it.
I was like, yeah, that's Clapham. That's Clapham Common right there.
Yeah, and that's how we met.
Did we? Yeah.
I didn't recognize you out of the latex.
They won't get that. Clapham Common's a cruising ground. Well, listen, Peter, we are all massive Drag Race stands. We love it. We watch it together as well. Like James had said before, we actually watch it in VR together, in virtual reality, where we can go to this huge, massive cinema screen and watch it. So, of course, Michelle Visage plays Elaine in Smoggie Queens. What was it like to work with her?
Well, she's just a nasty piece of work, really. God, don't sound about that. No, she was gorgeous. She was lovely. I've met her a couple of times. I've worked with her a few times, actually. So we used to do this thing called West End Bears. And West End Bears is where people from the West End would come together. We'd put on a show for one night. We'd all get naked and raise money for charity, Make a Difference Trust. It's a HIV charity. So one year she hosted, then the next year she did a song, and my husband David choreographed it, and I danced for her. So we'd met before, so it was like, hello, nice to see you again. She was honestly, she was up for anything. She was, because her role is so opposite to her, very dowdy and beige colors, and but she was totally game. She was. I felt all the hair and makeup team were just apologizing to her all the time, like because all the drag in it is meant to be like rap drag. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like the makeup's not meant to be great and stuff like that. And like you're working with people who are amazing at their job, but they're like, oh, Michelle, like this is not, like, do you know what I mean?
I can do better than this.
We have, like please don't. Look at this and think we can't. So yeah, and they were I think they were a bit nervous actually to work on her, but she was just honestly amazing.
Can you say she was a nasty piece of work again, Peter? I forgot a soundboy.
I questioned her, I grilled her, like most of the celebs on the season. They started making fun of me, the rest of them, because I would just be like, Michelle, what's your favorite color? And like asking stupid questions. And we got to do this. We were talking about Dream Girls, and we were talking about who's our favorite and who's the best recording and stuff like that. And we were like, oh, Jennifer Holliday, we absolutely love. And we put on And I'm Telling You, Jennifer Holliday. And we started lip syncing, me, Phil, and Michelle, right? And there's a video. We've got it on video.
We're gonna share it.
Have you seen it? Have you
Yes.
seen it? And we do the whole thing. And after, me and Phil were like, what just happened? like, what did we just do? like we just had this absolute moment with Michelle Visage.
Who
Yeah,
sashayed away?
Michelle. No, we all got saved. We all got saved. It was that week.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you have a COVID mask on? Because you could have said this, Peter.
I'd like to keep it on, please.
Yes. And that was my top. Yeah, I get undressed so many times in Smoggie Queens, and it's not even in the script.
It was just Michelle.
It's just Michelle. Yeah. Like we did the Titanic episode, and
Yes.
it says like, oh, we get drenched in all this drink and stuff, and we was like, right, let's do a rehearsal. And I went for it, and I took off my top and everything. Like, yes! And I turned round, and everyone's laughing. And I said to the director, I was like, is it too much? And he went, no, it's
No.
fine.
Sounds like you had lots of fun on set of Smoggie
We
Queens.
did.
And you mentioned
Yeah.
obviously the lip sync that you shared on Instagram as well. But have you got any other stories from on set that you can share with us that's not too
Oh,
secret that they'll
And
allow?
Or
yeah,
it can be secret if you want.
Oh, you
It
can,
won't
yeah.
go out.
yeah, yeah. What's that red button flashing? Yeah. We had lots of. Honestly, we're so close, and I'm not faking that. I'm not like we all from day one, because the 7 of us have been on from day one, and we're like we've got a WhatsApp group. We're all very close. Like we literally are the biggest supporters of each other. If someone's doing TV thing, whatever, we're watching it. We're all chatting at the same time. But one of the stories I think is that Charlotte Riley's in it, who plays Sal's girlfriend, and Charlotte is partner to Tom Hardy, and so obviously the gag with Michelle Visage where it's like, don't you think she looks like Michelle Visage? And she says, no, I don't see it myself. So I was like, oh my god, we should do more of those. Like, try and get as many in as we can.
Yes.
I mean, they tried to get Girls Aloud at one point, but they couldn't because they were just finishing their tour and they all want to go on holiday. But for the first 3 days of filming, I wasn't there because I wasn't needed, and Charlotte was there, and everyone was like, oh, so have you got a partner? Dropping hints like, oh, what does he do? Is he an actor? And it's like, nothing. And so on the 4th day, I'm there, right? And I'm like, oh my god, we should totally get Tom Hardy. And the air in the room went whoop, like that. And I was like, what? And I was like, you are joking.
Oh, you didn't
You've been
know?
here for 3 days. Yeah. I was like, you've been here for 3 days and no one said a thing. And they were like, oh my god. So yeah, and then after that it was fine because it was like, right, the cat's out the bag now. We can talk about it. But yeah, that was a moment I'd say like,
Oh, what are the chances?
no one said anything. And actually Charlotte was fine about it. She was having a good laugh.
Well, congratulations, Peter. It was on such a successful show, Smoggie Queens. And of course,
you.
that's just your latest project. Many people may know you from other works such as Hollyoaks, where you play Gareth, a man who Carter Shepard tries the cure of homosexuality by ways of conversion therapy. Why are storylines like that that you're involved in so important to have on TV and film?
I think because sometimes storylines are bigger than you, and it's bigger than a character, and it's important because it's addressing something that's still legal in this country, which is absolutely insane.
Crazy.
And I think, especially with soaps, is that it has a direct kind of straight into people's front rooms. A lot of people still watch soaps, and they're on 3 to 5 times a week, and it's a way in of bringing awareness of an important topic or subject that that you kind of might not get anywhere else. So that's why I think it's important, especially when it was like the conversion therapy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Have you ever gone online to see like any of the kind of reactions to it? I mean, does it drum up a lot of kind of curiosity with people, awareness?
I don't really go online that much. Like I don't go fishing for things because you might not like what you see, first of all. So that's one thing. I mean,
Yeah,
to be
people
honest,
can be vicious, can't they?
yeah, but also like it sounds awful. I don't give a shit.
Right.
So
You're right. No,
like,
that's-
like, do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't really care what your opinion is, good or bad. Like, do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like it's all good and it's all nothing, if that makes sense. Even good
Yeah.
opinions and bad opinions,
Mhm.
they're just someone's opinion. And we get to choose what we take on board and don't. So I'm not really bothered, but I was glad I got to do it. I have two friends that have been through conversion therapy, and I contacted them when I got the role.
Mhm.
And I spoke with them, and to me, what I discovered was it's not the 10 months or the 2 years of conversion therapy.
Unbelievable.
It's the 7 to 10 years after, because what the conversion therapy does is it's like it plants minds, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
and once you finish, you're going through life. It's like boom, trigger, and there's a lot of therapy that needs to be done to unpick all of this damage that's been done.
Yeah.
And there's one scene that I'm proud of that I got to do in Hollyoaks, which I did for them. And I before saying action, I was like, "This is for you. This is for you too. I'm doing this for you," which is quite emotional, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad I got to do the storyline.
I'm kind of glad that there's that TV is willing to kind of put stuff like that into their dramas and just get things like Heartstopper, and what's the other one?
It's a sin,
It's a
or
Sin,
Yeah.
Drag
or
Race,
the
all of
fairies. What was it
yes.
called?
We loved that. We watched that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost Boys. Was it Lost Boys?
Love Sport, yes.
Lost Boys and
Yeah.
Fairies, yeah.
Fairies,
I mean,
yeah.
do you think that we have enough queer representation in TV and film right now?
I think we do, to be honest. I think it's nice that gay stories are being told. I think it's nice that it's not all about HIV and AIDS anymore. It's, you're getting love stories, you're getting young love, and with Lost Boys and Fairies about adoption and
Yeah.
addiction, and we've got some really amazing actors that seem to be breaking barriers now. Jonathan Bailey, who else? Andrew Scott. There's quite a big range of gay actors now. I would say I agree with Russell T Davies. I think that, and this is obviously very challenging, but it can be, that I think gay people should be playing gay roles first and foremost, because
Yeah.
I think representation really matters, and I think that community, whatever community that's from the story they're telling, should be the people telling their story first. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great point that you mentioned there, Peter. And you mentioned Russell T Davies and his program that he did, It's a Sin, but you also starred in one of his programs as well, Years and Years.
I did.
Obviously, came out 2019, so it was a dystopian drama.
Yeah.
Scarily enough, some of it has come true. So hopefully, it's not too much of a fortune teller.
Yeah.
But can you just give us an insight what it was like to work on a piece by Russell T Davies?
Oh God. I mean, yeah, it was incredible. And to work with Emma Thompson as well was just fantastic. Like, to get that opportunity, she was incredible. Like, I watched her like a whore. I watched her on set and off set. My trailer was attached to hers, so I could even hear her through the wall. You know what I mean? I was like, oh my God,
You're there
Emma
with the
Thompson.
class.
Yeah. And I met her first in the makeup trailer, and she's like, "Hi, I'm Emma. I'm playing this role," like, as if you didn't know who she was. And I said, "Oh, I'm Peter. I'm playing this role." She's like, "Oh, nice to put like a face to the character." And she was gorgeous. She introduced herself to everyone, every crew member, SA, actor, anyone, and she remembered everyone's name. I could see she was doing like this kind of name technique thing where it's like you remember, but she did, and she made everyone feel special. She when they were setting up the shots for the filming, she'd have a stand-in, so she could go off and relax or do whatever she needed to do. Obviously, needed to do something else or an interview, and there was this young girl who was her stand-in, and Emma got talking to her, and she was this girl. I don't think had had the easiest of lives, and Emma was saying, "Oh, is this what you want to do? Be an actress?" And she said, "Yeah, I do, but there's a thing for actors called Spotlight, which is basically like a casting website, which you need to have 3 credits to be on." And so she's like, "Oh, I've got my 3rd credit, but then she changed it to 4. You have to have 4 credits." So I was like, "Okay," and walked away. And she went to the producer and she said, "Have we got a role we can give her?" And they're like, "Well, actually, tomorrow we're filming a scene and there's like a journalist and they've got 1 line." And she went back and she went, "There you go, there's your credit." And the girl was just like, oh my God, like, "Thank you so much." And she was like, "We film it tomorrow, make sure you know your line." But I learned a lot from her because I realized you don't need to be a dick to be successful.
No.
Yeah.
And she's got a big heart, and she didn't have to do that at all. Yeah, she was incredible to work with. What an honor, just mind blowing, and to have scenes with her. I remember we were joking about between takes, and we'd like sometimes stay in character because she had to do an accent in it, so she was like trying to stay in the accent. And then I brought up the subject of Donald Trump, like asking her out on a date. And the thing is, I'd done my research, and it's halfway through she cuts character, and she's like, "But he actually did. Like he asked her out on a date." And I was like, "I know." And she's like, "I was in my trailer, and he got this phone call, and he was Donald Trump, like absolute madness."
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just those moments you're like, wow, I'm never gonna forget this. Like an Oscar-winning actress, and just kind, and yeah, incredible. And I'm so grateful for Russell for that opportunity.
That sounds amazing. Obviously, completely different to a character in Years and Years. If you've not watched it, definitely recommend it as well to go and see. Obviously, we know another piece of work that you've starred in, and it was quite a personal piece, and it was The Others. So for anyone that doesn't know, it's a short film for Casey House, which is it's also available on YouTube. Definitely recommend, and we'll link it into the episode. And it focuses around the stigma and fear of HIV. Could you tell us a bit about that project for anyone that's not watched it yet?
Yeah. So Casey House is a hospital in Canada, Toronto, and it's an incredible place to go to. It unlike other place I've been, like they have their facilities are incredible. It's like holistic in the sense of like it covers everything. It's not just about medicine. It's really, really special. Princess Diana went there in the 80s. She's seen there, with photos touching people with AIDS, which was a game changer. And so Casey House, they also have, they also look at socially, like the challenging stigma in different ways. So they like listen to the conversation of what's being said, and then they address it. So they do this thing where, it came up where I wouldn't want someone with HIV to make my food. So they're like, okay. And they created a restaurant, and all the staff there were HIV positive. And then they listen again, and the conversation changes, and it's like, well, I wouldn't mind someone making my food, but I wouldn't want them to touch me. So Casey House go, okay, we're going to create a spa, and all the massage therapists are HIV positive. So the year I did it, they wanted to create a film, and they were like, okay, so what fuels stigma? It's fear. And what genre is the best genre to kind of showcase fear? And they were like, well, it has to be horror. It has to be like a dystopian horror thriller. So they wrote this film, and it was important that the lead character has HIV. We want to cast an actor with HIV. So they put the breakdown out in Canada, and no one came forward. And they were like, okay. And so they opened it up to America, and no one came forward, or hardly anyone came forward. And the feedback they got was, people don't want to do this because they're worried it's going to affect their career, because then people are going to know they're HIV positive. So then they decided to open it up to Europe. And I was like, I'll do it. I will do it. And so my agent contacted me and said, look, I know everything that you've done with like Make a Difference Trust and all of that, and all of being so visible about and open about your status. But this is going to be another level. Are you know, is this something you want to do? And I said, yes, absolutely. So they sent me the audition, loved it, absolutely loved it straight away. And I did the audition over like a Zoom, not Zoom, self-tapes. You pre-record it and you send it off. And I've never done this before, but at the end of the audition, I added an extra clip that was not in character, that was just me. And I just wanted to say how much it meant to me about what they were doing and how important it was and how thankful. And said, even if I don't get this, I just want to say thank you. So I sent it off, and then I think they were like, wow, he gets it. He completely, you know, and I had to do a recall, and then eventually I got it. And it was just the best project. Like I was saying earlier, sometimes you do things for money, the role or whatever. And this was everything and more. It was for something that was bigger than me. And it's the first time everything had come together like that. And the director was incredible, Paul. It's one of the first times I've worked with a director that I felt like aligned with. I had to do a wardrobe fitting when I got there, and they wanted me in a vest, and I must have tried on like 17 vests. Yeah, I must have tried on like 17 vests. And this one vest I put on made me look incredible. Like it hugged me in the right places. I looked amazing.
Did you get to take it home?
I wish I did. Yeah, I was like, and the director said to me, "What do you think?" And I said, "Love it. It's amazing." I said, "But I don't think it's right."
Oh no.
And he went, "Yeah, I agree." And it was the first time I was like, "We're on the same page. We're on the same here." And it's the first time as well that a good director takes what you give them and they mold it, shape it. A bad director for me already has the idea of what they want it to be, and you're trying to match their vision, which is difficult and near impossible. But yeah, it was really special. And it's the first time as well, at the end of the film, they did a talk with me. They added on a little clip at the end. I mean, my interview was about an hour long, but they shortened it to about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was really emotional because it was the first time that anyone had really asked me my experience. Yeah, like I'd never shared it before. And so it was quite, I think, cathartic maybe. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, it was a really special project.
You mentioned there, Peter, that the main stigma around HIV would be fear. What ways can people break that down and get rid of that stigma and that fear of HIV?
I think it's by talking, because like fear hides in the dark. Do you know what I mean? It's like that's where it can grow. That's where it can. So when you talk about it, it's like shining the light. It's like getting rid of the shadows. You can actually see what is there and what isn't, because our minds can make up the most, you know, ridiculous things. And so I think it's having conversations and keeping that conversation open. Essentially, I think that's what it is for me.
Yeah. Peter, you you know, we watched it as well, and it is emotional, and you know, like I can see how it would be cathartic for you. And look, I don't want it to be triggering for you or anything, but I wonder, could you take us back to the moment that you were diagnosed with HIV, and perhaps tell us, you know, what support you received during, you know, that time, or what it was like, or what it wasn't like, both like professionally and personally.
So I was in drama school at the time in my second year, and I got really sick to the point where I went into hospital, and they did all these tests, and they are like, okay, well, everything's come back negative, like nothing's shown up. And they were like, are you a gay man? And I was like, yes. And like, have you been in unprotected sex? And I said, yes. And I said, okay, we've booked you an appointment at the sexual health ward. We're going to discharge you. Go there. They'll be expecting you. They'll do your tests and you can go home. Well, I was so scared that I didn't go. And I went home and I continued to be sick. And then I decided that I was like, okay, I'm going to go home to my parents. I think I must have got one of the last trains out of London because there was a massive blizzard storm, and then the whole country came to a standstill. But I was just like, I need to get home. I need to get to my mum and dad's. And so I got home and I was starting to feel a little bit better that day. And then it was about 10:30 at night and my parents were getting ready to go to bed. And I remember Googling signs of HIV. I think it's the worst thing I could have ever done in one way, because I would like, yep, I've got that symptom. Yes, I've got that symptom. And I knew at that point that I had it. And my parents were going to bed and I was like, okay. And it just made me, felt like I was getting better. But when I read that website of all the different symptoms, it made me just ill again. It was just like, whoa. I think that night must have been the worst night of my life. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything. I was like trying to do anything to try and take my mind off it until it got to the point where I had to call a helpline. Yeah. And they were really great. They were really supportive, and they said they organized something for me. They said, okay, there's a clinic in Middlesbrough. Can you get there for say 9 o'clock in the morning as soon as it opens? And I was like, yes, I can. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I just said yes. And so my parents woke up the next day, came downstairs. They're like, I'd been up all night and gone to bed. They're like, if you've been to bed? I was like, no. And I said, Dad, can you take me to Middlesbrough? And my dad was like, well, I've got things on. I've got, da. And my mum just stopped him and she said, you have to take him. It's like, mums are just instinctual. And my dad just went, okay. He just knew it, like, I think from my mum, okay, this is important. I have to take him. So we went through. My dad sat in the van while I went in, and they did a rapid test, which is pinprick of the finger. They'll tell you within an hour, it'll come up if it's positive or negative. And it wasn't even an hour within that, they pulled me back in from the waiting room and they sat me down and they said, yeah, it's positive. So at this point, my head's spinning. I'm like, what? Like, and they're kind of giving me information, but I can't really take it on board because I'm just, it's a lot. And they said, okay, but now you need to go to hospital and we need to do more tests. And they said my dad sat outside in the car and they were like, do you want to bring him in? So I was like, okay. So I knocked on the window and I said, Dad, do you want to come in? And we sat him down. Dad, I'm HIV positive. And he was like, how long has he got to live? Like he you know, he still lives in that world of the 80s, you know, like, the best thing is that I was surrounded by medical people who could tell him, people could fill in the gaps that I, you know, couldn't, or the information that I didn't have or couldn't hold at that time. And they were really great. They were really reassuring. They put him at ease, like, well, ease as much as possible. And then from there, we had to go to the hospital, and he sat with me through that. And it kind of came in waves. It kind of came like, you know, it was very like 1 minute okay, and then not. And I think in hindsight, the good thing is that it was done for me in a sense. I've never had to keep a secret from my parents. They've known from day one. I think I'm very lucky. It's never grown into anything bigger, if you know what I mean. Like, I've never had to do that whole kind of coming out thing. And so they've always been supportive, I think. And then after we went to the hospital, we had to go home. And that's when I told my mum. My mum kind of was worried because we'd been gone all day. And, you know, to be gone all day, she knew it was going to be bad. Say bad, but yeah. But I think the difficulty was, as much as I wasn't on my own and I had my parents to be able to, like, lean on, I felt like I had to be strong for them and show them like I was okay, and that I was all right. And once I got well enough and I came back to London, that's when I let it all out. That's when it all was like, okay, I don't have to be strong for anyone right now. And I can just crumble and cry. But I had really good support, like the doctors, everything. I did like a newly diagnosed course when about a year after, and on the course there's lots of different people that, I think I was one of the longest, as in diagnosed the longest. There was people that were diagnosed the day before on the course. It was very raw for them. You know, people who, a woman from somewhere like Leeds, I think it was, she would travel down every week to do this course for 6 weeks because she was too scared to do it in her own place, own city, in case she was seen. And
what was it like, Peter, coming back with your dad and telling your mom when you got home?
It was, we had my granddad staying with us at the time because he wasn't well. So we had to have like private discussions. You know what I mean? Like, without him kind of knowing about it. So that was tricky. It was kind of like, we need to talk about, in one way it was like, great, we can't talk about it. But then in one way it was like, we need to. It was a strange, really strange.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking years ago, right? Like, this is so,
Yeah.
There's a lot different
you're talking
back then as well, you know, like in terms of
much
maybe the
changed.
difficulty in having those conversations.
Yeah.
Stuff.
I'm so proud of my dad because last year or this year, we did a documentary called HIV and Me with Dan Herring from I Kissed the Boy. And the interview for that, they were like, we love your story. We want you to be part of it. We're like, great. And then they were like, we want to interview your dad. And I was like, okay, like I can ask him, but this is completely not his thing at all. So I said, Dad, they want to interview, but don't feel like you have to. And he's like, I want to. And it was, honestly, I'm so proud of him. Sit there in an environment that's not his natural thing, and to be so open and vulnerable as, you know, white, you know, older man kind of from the Northeast. Yeah, I'm very lucky.
It does almost bring tears to my eyes because I think people like your father, honestly, Peter, like people like your dad are so important.
Yeah.
You know, like to know that people have that support.
Yeah.
Network in place is really, really important. And I'm really proud of you as well as a role model because, you know, to be so open, honest, and proud, and telling your story and letting people know about it is so important. So I'm really proud of you as well. You know, like keep doing what you're doing, keep being successful, keep you know, educating and letting people know about it.
I think why it's so important for me to be so honest and open is because it's what I do in my work anyway, but also it's the same thing of being visible, and it's important because then people see that it's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to talk about these things, otherwise that's where, you know, it all hides. And
you're shedding light on it. That's ending that stigma around it.
Yeah.
So
and that it's like it's normal. And and I went to 10 Downing Street the other day. I was invited to 10 Downing Street for World AIDS Day.
Get in.
Wow. Which was just incredible. And to be there with all these amazing people. Like I don't know all the facts and figures and all the stuff that's going on. There are people that do know that, but what I do know is my own experience, my own story, and that's what I'm sharing. And I've got nothing but amazing, you know, say feedback. I met there's a woman called Ellie who was in the documentary HIV Prepping Me, and she's got a lot of stick online, a lot of hate, and I said, look, it's easy for me because I'm gay and I live in a gay bubble, and we've had to deal with this, you know, disease for, you know, quite a few years, but for a straight woman to be so open about it, hats off. Because, you know, she's dealing with a lot. She gets a lot of hate, and she still every day stands up and go, no, I'm going to make this count.
We haven't seen that. Well, I haven't seen that, so I definitely want to catch that documentary for sure. Thank you, Peter. I know that's probably to have to go back and do that. I really do. We really do appreciate.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And that you've brought awareness to a wider audience as well. So I say thank you again. One of the other things that you are very passionate about and is about British Sign Language, and you're sort of raising awareness with that. And understand you're a level 6. Is that correct?
I am. Yeah, level 6. I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. So how it all started for me was, well, when I remember my sister came home when I was about 13, 14. And I remember, actually, I'll sign it. So when I was about 13, 14, I remember my sister coming home and saying to my parents, do you know that all the vowels, A, E, I, O, U, were on one hand? And I remember just being gobsmacked and thinking, like, if I'm going to learn another language, I want it to be sign language. But I didn't know any deaf people or kind of where to go, so I didn't do anything. And then 3 years ago, I met a deaf guy at a party, and I was like, I've always wanted to learn sign language, and he gave me the best advice, which is do it. And I was like, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's like you know, people say, oh, you want to learn an instrument, and you don't. And I thought, no, I want to do it. I want to do it for me. And I started, and I've loved it ever since, like just enjoying the process and learning.
Well, we've actually had a question sent in to us by a friend of the show, Chris Coles. And
okay.
You can follow him on Insta. It's Coles117 on Insta.
Okay.
So are you ready for I'll show you the video, and I'd be grateful if you could read out the question as it's being signed. For
okay, yeah. Okay.
So
I'm level 6. I'm not an interpreter. Yeah. Hi. Hey, Peter. My name is Chris. Oh, nice to meet you. Can you explain to me your journey with BSL level 6? Yes, sir. Can you explain where is so okay from level 1 to 6? Nice to meet you. Okay, so my journey from level 1 to 6. So I met this guy and I was like, I've always wanted to learn. And so he started sending me videos, little videos about like different colors, red, blue, green, like things like that. And then he said there's a free 6-week course coming up. And so I was like, great. So I emailed the woman and I didn't hear anything back. And I thought, it's a bit weird. And then when I checked the email, I realized I'd got the email wrong.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I messaged and she said, oh, I'm so sorry with it. It's full. She said, but the 1-year course is available. And I was like, oh, what should I do? I thought, no, I've always wanted to do this. So then I just went for it. I thought, no, I'm going to do it. So level 1 and 2, really enjoyed. Nice, because, you're learning the language and stuff like that. But level 3 is where I really fell in love with sign language, because all of a sudden there's a massive jump. And it's not just about the language and the grammar and all that, the BSL structure. It's more about the deaf culture, deaf history, deaf education. Like, I fell in love with sign language, like even the history of it, where it comes from, the influences, you know what I mean? Like all the different practitioners from the American Sign Language to British Sign Language to, there's a whole thing about, it's called the Milan Conference, where sign language was banned for 100 years. Yeah, it was banned from 1880 until 1980. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was banned for 100 years. So they had this, it's called the Milan Conference. And they were trying to decide if sign language was better or oralism. So oralism is where you teach a deaf person how to speak through sounds and noises, tastes and stuff like that. And it's impressive on the front. But what they discovered over the 100 years was the IQ of deaf people was going down and down and down and down. And what they discovered is you can teach a parrot to speak, doesn't necessarily mean it's thinking, where oralism isn't a language, but sign language is a language where you can have concept ideas, thoughts, all of that. So then to be honest, it's one of the biggest crimes against the deaf community. And they gave this statement, I think it was 1979, 80, where they gave a formal apology to the deaf community and said, we're so sorry, we got it wrong. But the Milan Conference was already set up to fail anyway, because the invites were chosen specifically to favor oralism. Anyway, so I could go on. I'm like, I literally have this passion. Had my first ever sign language stream last week.
No way.
I saw you post that on Instagram.
Yeah.
What was that like?
And like, incredible. I'm just honestly excited. I was like, yes, to get to that point where you like start thinking like that. So level 3 finished, and now I've just started my level 6. I'm loving it. Just want to keep continuing. People keep asking me, like, do you want to be an interpreter? I think I do. I'm just enjoying it at the minute. It's going to be a big commitment if I decide to be an interpreter.
Yeah. Because
I've still got, potentially another 3 years of learning. But I love it. Do you know one thing I would really love? When I was in Hollyoaks, when they did the omnibus on a Sunday or wherever it was, they had an interpreter on the TV.
If it was you.
And I was like, I want to do that and be in the show. That would be a dream. Wouldn't it be weird? Like, So I think that's a goal.
My cousin studied ISL, Irish Sign Language, over here, and she lived down the country. But I live in Dublin, and the college was in Dublin, Trinity College. So our first year, when she was just learning, our lecturer suggested the whole class goes to a deaf disco, and her not knowing anybody, I went with her, and it was amazing. Like obviously they're playing music. That's going to be people's first question, but they have a vibrating dance floor that you can feel the beat.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember the guy's name. It was a deaf rapper. I can't remember where he's from. It was something Sign. Sign was in the name, but he rapped the whole rap, and apparently he's like rapping or signing at 100 miles an hour. And then he gets somebody to do the vocal and interpretations for him.
Wow.
But it was amazing.
Do you know his name?
It was
it Chris?
Possibly something Sign was in his name. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
There's a show called Follow the Sign. Yes. Yeah.
But it was amazing.
That's so. My God, amazing.
And we all met in virtual reality. So we've been friends for like well over 2 years, but met in this online. And in virtual reality, there's deaf creators that create worlds that you can go into that have haptic kind of, like if there's a dance floor, you can stand on it and it vibrates. There's things to write messages to be able to communicate that way. It's incredible. It really is.
Oh, wow.
And it's nice to see, on those types of platforms that it is, inclusive there. I love
that.
There was a funny story when I was at the Deaf Disco with my cousin. So obviously she was only in her first year, and she was suggested to go there to mingle with the deaf community to try and get her level up a little bit. And we were out in the smoking area, and she was talking to this deaf guy, and she asked, he was pointing at me, and he said, "Is that your boyfriend?" And I can't remember which is which, but this is cousin, I think, in Irish Sign Language. And she went like this, which means cheating. So she basically said, "No, it's not my boyfriend, we're cheating," instead of saying cousin.
Do you know what misconception is that people think sign language is universal?
Yeah, that's a big it's one language for the whole world.
Yeah, and it's not. It's they've got Irish, American, Italian, but they also have international sign language.
Oh, right.
So if they come together to do like the Deaf Olympics, they'll use international sign language, and that's how they'll communicate. Yeah,
like I think you said before we started recording that the vowels were A, E, I, O, U in BSO, but in Irish it's A, E, I, O, U.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I still remember. I mean,
yeah.
That's not how you spell bitch, Danny.
Yeah,
James in Irish Sign Language is James.
Yeah. I'm starting to practice a little bit one hand, because when you're holding a phone and chatting to your friends, I can't fingerspell with two hands. So I want to know a little bit of like international American, because then I can at least try and communicate that way. But my favorite thing is chatting with my friends in sign language. Like I went to, they call it Deaf Pub, and it's at Christmas. The whole deaf community come to this pub in Holborn, and it was the other night, and they're just signing, and I'm at that level now where I can interject into conversations of like, oh, they're talking about that. Like I don't have to know, like follow it from the beginning and try and get the context. And
so you're at your nosy stage now.
I am, yeah, really nosy, yeah. But when I was at Downing Street for the World AIDS Day, I met the education minister, Stephen Morgan, I think his name was, and I was like, I have to bring this up because in the UK there's only 22 deaf schools, and next year there's only going to be 20 because 2 are closing.
Right, wow.
And that's gone from like, I think something like 78 or something like that schools in the 80s, and it's literally gone down. It's all about money, and it's really sad because all those children have to relocate to a different school, or they go into mainstream schools, and the support isn't there, and it's sad when things are getting cut because of money. When you're like, well, they also have their right.
Yeah. Well, what can we do to help?
Well, oh gosh, I mean,
is there like a petition we can sign?
Well, yeah, there are petitions. There are petitions going around, and I've shared them on Instagram. Yeah, petitions talking about it, making it like known. Also, the mental health, like not for children, but also in the deaf community for adults, like who are, you know, therapists that are trained in BSL or BSL users. It's like that's a very small pool.
Right.
Or you might have to have an interpreter, and that's quite, what's the word? Is it invasive? I don't know. Like, you know, to have a therapy session to be speaking so open, and you have to also have a third person there. It's quite vulnerable. So the support for them, where do they go to get mental health? Because deaf people have mental health as well. So they, you know, they face a lot of barriers.
Yeah.
So Peter, getting back to you, what are some of your dream roles or projects, or what's next for you down the pipeline?
What's next is I'm doing a short film in the new year in January. I was already in January the year.
Well spotted.
And then I'm doing, there's a play that's called A Role to Die For, and it's like based on James Bond. And I've been cast in it. There's a part in the play where they put on a projector, and I think they watch some Bond scenes and things like that. So I'm playing Bond in that.
Nice.
So hopefully it's good practice, maybe for the future. We'll
Give us
see.
your best, James Bond.
Yeah.
Miss
Can wait.
Moneypenny.
Yes. So I'm doing that, and then I don't know. Let's see. Like, hopefully, there's a season 2 of Smoggie Queens.
Please.
Yeah, and I'd love to do a project where I get to use my sign language as well. A couple of things have come up. Hopefully, I'm waiting to see. But if not, I think it might need to be something I write. I'd like to tell, a story about an interpreter, coder, you know, kind of, a coder is a child with deaf adult parents, and the barriers that they have to face. And sometimes coders put into really difficult positions because, you know, if an interpreter isn't there, or it's last minute, or interpreter doesn't, you know, turn up. Sometimes children have had to communicate really, really difficult news to parents. You know what I mean? And it's not their job. It's not, you know, as a 12-year-old boy, it's not your job to say, you know, they've got cancer or whatever it is. So, something maybe around that to kind of highlight.
Well, that's Peter's idea, so you can't steal that. Anybody?
Yeah, copyright.
It's copyrighted.
Delete that.
Oh well, good luck, Peter. Like, we can't
Thank
wait,
you.
honestly, to
We'll
see
be
what
watching.
you do next. You're a fantastic, talented actor, and I'm sure that there's going to be so many more opportunities for us to catch you on our screens, on the cinema, in live theatre, and we can't wait to see it.
Thank you.
So, one thing we normally do on our episodes is we always play a quiz.
Yeah.
James tends to win it a lot. Look at him getting all like ready.
Flexing.
And he is like the biggest, gayest heterosexual man there is. He knows Drag Race in and out, let me tell you.
Okay.
Our competition.
I know you're a bit of a Strictly fan, and I think you said your husband David's currently watching the final or catching up on it. So yes, I've got a couple of questions. And I didn't mention Jake because he doesn't always win.
I'm just making up the numbers.
I don't win a lot.
Well, I don't know anything about Strictly, so Jake can try and redeem those questions against Peter.
I want to ask Michelle if I can be a Brit crew. I'd love to do that. Just a little cameo as a Brit crew, yeah.
I'm sure she could sort it. Yeah, it's all about who you know.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a mixture of Strictly and Drag Race with our Michelle Visage connection. So here we go with question number 1.
Do we need buzzers first?
Oh, we do need buzzers. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So if you don't have a buzzer, Peter, you can just shout out something random.
Silent.
There we go.
There you go. He's made his decision.
James, Let's see yours.
Okay, my buzzer is
Can I have a squeeze?
Does-
it's from
do you know
Smoggie
that
Queens.
Oh yeah, it is. I didn't even realise.
And Jake, let's hear yours.
I've gone for a Strictly one.
Ooh.
There we go. Short and sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck, all of you. Here is question number 1. Which of these is not a traditional ballroom dance on Strictly? Is it Viennese waltz, foxtrot, or the passadoble?
Can I have a squeeze?
Oh.
The foxtrot.
Incorrect.
Oh.
Who's next?
What were the options again?
So it's
Vietnamese waltz.
Viennese waltz,
Yeah.
foxtrot, or the passadoble? Which of these?
Thought they
is
were all
not-
Yeah,
in.
so did I. I thought the Vietnamese was the
Which
trick.
of these is not a traditional ballroom dance?
Silence.
That's Peter.
Pasta doble.
Is the correct answer.
I can hear them saying that in my head.
All right, question number 2.
Okay.
Which RuPaul Drag Race queen has made it to the final
Can I have a squeeze?
each time? Oh, that is James.
I don't know why I thought you were going to say made it to Broadway. I was going to say Jinx Monsoon. Made it to the final. Oh, Bianca Del Rio without lip syncing.
Incorrect. I shall finish the question. Which RuPaul Drag Race queen has made it to the final each time she has competed? So it's a queen that has competed
Yeah.
many times. Do you want a clue?
Yeah.
Please.
Raven, is that my ring?
Oh, I got it.
That's my ring. Mine now, bitch.
I've got it.
Oh, come on.
I haven't got a
Peter.
clue.
Oh,
Can I buzz
give
back
another
in?
Clue.
Come
All
on.
right, I'll let James buzz back in.
Where's my
Can I have a
buzzer?
squeeze?
Jujubee.
It is Jujubee.
Oh,
That iconic clip of her
Oh.
and Raven. All right.
she's
well,
been in every season.
pretty much. That bitch. Right. So it's 1 to Peter, 1 to James.
Okay.
Come on, Jake.
I know.
How many series of Strictly Come Dancing has there been, including this year's? Or
Silent.
Peter
I'm gonna say 22.
is the correct.
Oh, well done.
answer. It is 20.
Yes.
2 to Peter.
I'm sure you did, Jake.
Well done.
Yeah.
Good job. All right. I know James is going to get this one. I don't
Oh,
know if
pressure.
Jake will. We'll see. But Peter, you should get this as well. Right.
Okay.
If a queen is wearing a gown with the colour chartreuse, which RuPaul
Can I have a
judge
squeeze?
is gonna- James.
Michelle.
It is Michelle. Yes, it's a green. She doesn't think it is a good color of green. Well done. I told you.
like your glasses.
You know this stuff. Yeah, but this isn't chartreuse. This is luminous green.
Okay. Michelle still wouldn't like them.
All right. Well done, James. So it's neck and neck, Peter and James.
Oh God.
2-2. Jake, come on. We've got to get you
I
on
need
the
to get on
board.
the board, don't I?
All right. Question number 5, the last question, unless we go to a tie break. Which Smoggie Queen competed and won the Strictly Come Dancing Christmas special?
Silence.
It's Peter.
Alexandra Mardell.
It is Alexandra Mardell. She won the Christmas special in 2022. So it was, 2 years ago. Well
Yeah.
done. So, Peter, you are this week's winner. Congratulations. James, how do you feel?
Like shite. No, I didn't have much of a chance. I don't watch Strictly.
I was just there to make the numbers up. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, sorry, Jake.
We didn't even need to hear your buzzer at the start, Jake.
Yeah. What did I win?
You just get the kudos.
Oh, right, okay.
You are a
I've had that
fabulous
before.
gay.
There's a crane for that.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. That brings us to the end of this episode. Peter, thank you so much for coming to join us on Meet in the Middle. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll say our goodbyes and we'll catch you on our next episode. And happy
Yeah.
New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New
Bye,
Year.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.